Okay, so let's talk about winter medicine a little bit. There are specific things that are, of course, as you can imagine, make winter more dangerous than other times for, just the cold weather part of it. Hypothermia. This is what we were talking about with the thoriums walking. This is how you would, your body temperature would start to plummet and you wouldn't be able to gain it back somehow from whatever, falling in the water or not having adequate clothing on or whatever, okay? And I have a chart here. Let me see what page that's on. It's where it says essentials of hypothermia. One page. There we go. Top of the page it says essentials of hypothermia. 2 pages. So this gives you an idea of when things start to get dangerous. All it takes is a couple of degrees loss of body temperature, which we mean inner core body temperature, and you're already starting to show signs of hypothermia. So you may start to shiver, as it goes from 37 to 35 or 97 to 95 degrees. You're going to start to be cold, your skin's going to be numb, and from there on down you can just read what the rest of these are. By the time you're at 93 degrees, your muscles won't, you'll be stumbling. They call them the umbles. You fumble, you stumble, you mumble. You can't talk right. All this stuff that starts to happen to you as you start into this state.
At this 97, 95, is your entire skin surface?
I don't know about that. There may be, what's actually happening is that the problem is that your core is getting cold, so your internal temperatures. So these are all core temperatures. So your skin, I guess, could be cold or it could be numb, and I'm not for sure exactly how that's going to feel. I'm going to talk to you just a little bit. Yeah, as a symptom. The first symptom, when I go out by myself, okay, and I'm wanting to know, am I just tired or am I starting to get hypothermia, right? I use any of these symptoms as being alarms for hypothermia, okay? If I start to stumble, I don't say I'm just getting tired. I start to treat myself for hypothermia. It means I'm going to start taking a warm drink, get more energy into me somehow, up my energy, or whatever it takes. You never go to bed hypothermic, because you may not wake up. Once you go to sleep, you cannot monitor yourself. So you always make sure that you're good and warm when you go to bed. And in fact, many times we'll go out and run before we go to bed. We run, and just slip right into the bed, and that way you know that you went in there warm. You're probably going to wake up if you start to get cold, just like you do at home. But if you're already hypothermic before you go in, you might not wake up. All right? And that's when you read, everybody read Shackleton, where he's got those guys on Elephant Island. And then he goes to South Georgia and he won't let them sleep. When he's, the last couple of days, he won't let them sleep. That's the reason why. He doesn't want them to sleep because he doesn't want them to go into hypothermia, because they're already in a state that they're almost, below where he can get them back if they went to sleep. This other chart for your use is on the page right before that, and it shows the effects of wind and cooling. And as you all know, any wind on you at all will cause your cooling rate to just be that much faster. Well, I want to make a subtle point here that a lot of people don't appreciate, though, that if the wind chill is a minus 20 out, what temperature is say you put out a piece of iron, and the temperature is 32, but the wind chill is a minus 20. What temperature is the piece of iron? 32. Yeah, okay. So it's the rate, yes. Everybody, some people don't understand it's the rate of cooling, which is what the wind chill is related to. It's what it feels like. It cools you as if it were that temperature, the rate. But that's not the temperature it's going to be. So you're not going to get frostbite if it's above freezing, but it feels like it's, with the wind 20 degrees, because the temperature is still above freezing. Okay? It's just going to cool you down faster. Now then, hypothermia is a different situation though, because it'll cool you down faster, and we couldn't survive at 32 if we tried, if we're, can't keep warm enough. So if it's cooling you down faster, then you can make heat, then you're going to start slipping into hypothermia. So it's very important to get this wind off of you, and everything that we do in the Arctic or in cold weather conditions is to keep the wind off of us, whether it's through our clothing or the place that we pick our shelter, or getting behind an iceberg to eat, or anything. We got to get that wind off of us.
Is this chart, can you read, I don't know anything about wind chill. Can you read the wind chill off of this?
The one prior to that, I have a chart of just the wind chill. Yeah.
It's like on this one, negative 20, and then
Yeah.
slip back on.
So if you go negative 20 and the wind is 20 miles per hour,
And you can be there even though it's 20 degrees outside.
yeah, that's what it's going to, the rate is going to be cooling you as if it were that temperature. And if you go to the chart before that, that gives you what the Fahrenheit wind chill equivalent is. So let's take 25 degrees, okay? So that's the temperature Fahrenheit with 25 mile per hour wind, okay? So where is the intersection of those two? That's at -7. Does everybody see that? So that is as if the temperature outside were a -7. That's the rate that it's cooling you down.
Now, if you have complete wind protection, then it's 25.
It's much, much better. Yes, if you had total wind compression, wind protection, yes, it's 25. If you
But
could,
there's still some heat loss at all times.
yeah, and it's radiating. I mean, it's radiating on my clothes right now. If you took an infrared picture of me right now, you'd see that I have infrared radiation heat radiating away from my body.
Right.
Okay, so that I can't get back.
Just since you expend so much energy in the first hypothermia, does those power gels work as human meals, or do you use that for?
Yes, anything that you can eat. Anything that you can eat to give yourself energy. And we'll talk a little bit about nutrition in just a second. But any kind of energy that you can give yourself, and water, drinking water is very, very important as well, to get yourself warmed up. And I promise you, it can be as simple as taking a drink of water to get yourself warmed up. Especially when you've been sweating a lot. Okay? So, and I'll show you what my favorite power gel is. It's very cheap, and we'll all get to taste it. Understanding hypothermia, I mean, if you, this is of course exacerbated to a much worse degree if you get wet. Because now your chill rate has just gone down much faster. If you do fall through the ice, or fall into the ice, and I've done it, more times than I want to admit, you got to take your clothes off, wring them out, get them back on, and then move to start drying, to get yourself warmed back up.
So you no longer do the Jack London thing where you light a fire to dry your
I remember he
clothes.
died in that. To light a fire, that story,
I know.
he died in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Frostbite. Okay, frostbite is where you have the flesh actually freezes. Okay? Deep, not just the skin, deep within the flesh. All right? Now, I've talked to lots of different people, and some people said they didn't feel it happening. I've had the start of it, and it hurt like hell on me, but I don't know. I think if you're numb enough, maybe you don't feel it happening. Okay? But what it does happen, like if it's to a thumb or to a foot or something, what to do after that is probably the most important decision you're going to make. You're going to have to get yourself out to warm back. You're going to have to be evacuated. Okay? You can't just thaw it out. Okay? And think that it's going to be all right. In fact, several times, if you watched the movie or read the book Into Thin Air, the people will be taken out and they won't attempt to thaw them until they're back where they are safe. meaning that they can keep them, they know they can keep them warm. Because what happens is if you thaw it out and it refreezes, you're almost certainly going to lose it. Okay? And it's now, you've compromised the integrity of all your capillaries and all the blood that goes into, like I'm putting in my thumb here. You've compromised this by freezing the first time. So you don't have any heat going to it the second time. It's going to freeze faster, easier the second time. And when it freezes the second time, you're probably going to lose it. The first time, if you get out in time, I've seen several people frostbitten, and they all, made it. They all, their thumb or their foot, they didn't have to amputate it. All right?
And then limited use after.
Yes, they do. And in one case, the guy did have to have his toe amputated, the flesh amputated, but the bone was still alive, so they rebuilt him a toe. So the one guy that I was in training with. So and this was because he had basically, one of the things I don't talk too much about in this seminar, but your attitude gives you a long way in these kinds of situations. And he had sort of a mental breakdown. And so, like when you're moving in these expeditions, if you're the last one that's coming up all the time, and everybody's been waiting for you, as soon as you get there, they're ready to take off because they're cold. When you're moving, you're warm. Well, this was happening, and this was happening to this guy, and he started to have a breakdown. And the next thing you know, he has frozen both of his hands totally, and I don't want to be too graphic, but, now he can't go to the bathroom because he can't use his hands. Okay, he's frozen both of his feet. The attitude and the muscles and stuff can get you a long way, but you're also going to have to be pretty tight wired to be able to do some of this. All right, and so they eventually had to, the bone was okay, wasn't dead, so they rebuilt him a new toe. We're using muscle or flesh from his butt. Okay, but so it is a serious thing. But the thing is if it happens, try to you have to, at all expense, get the person into safety.
Now, when you said refreeze, you mean in the same occurrence?
No, you'll thaw it out. Say in the old days, I used to read books in high school where they would beat it with rope and everything else to thaw it out, right? You thaw it out, and then you think, I'm going to go on the rest of the expedition. No, it's over. You get out of there. Because if you thaw it out, and it refreezes again the second time.
Next day,
next hour, just
5 days
refreeze.
later,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's totally damaged then, because you've already damaged the cells once. The second refreeze is going to totally damage
Now,
them.
this is why I was always told that if you get frostbite once,
What about 3 years from now?
you get colder fast.
Yeah, most people say that it takes that they are sensitized to that the rest of their life.
My daughter got frostbite once on
Mm-hmm.
an expedition. She plays lacrosse or something, and it's wet and cold. Like I'm talking 50.
Right.
She can stop. It's hard for her to grip.
Right. Yeah.
So she's
it's already
a permanent.
Yes.
disability.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what most people will say that it affects them. The rest, their hands get colder faster or whatever, and then frostbite because it does a dramatic change to the capillaries and stuff. Maybe if you did therapy to rebuild those capillaries and stuff that you have in your hands, or feet or wherever, to rebuild them so that you have the same blood supply that you had before, maybe you could, but it damages them enough that most people don't have that.
And therefore, you're susceptible, those tissues are still susceptible to frostbite.
Yes.
Much more susceptible
Yeah,
in
and
the future, years in the future.
Yes,
Forever.
right, exactly. And in the same, in the same expedition, you think you get it, thawed out. You read the book, you thawed it at 104 degrees Fahrenheit, just warm enough. As soon as it's thawed out, then it's ready to be refrozen again. And take a piece of chicken sometime, thaw it, and refreeze it again and see what happens to the flesh. Isn't that what like freezer burn is or something? I mean, the meat tastes awful.
Don't know.
So you're starting to lyse the cells. You're starting to break the cell open.
It's the breaking of this stuff.
Yeah.
But so in other words, if you have to be thawed out, you can't think in your mind, I can just thaw myself out and keep going.
No.
You need medical attention.
Yeah, you need medical attention. And I've seen, of course, what happens when you get frostbite, like you get it on the thumb, it turns black. I mean, it's basically got a hard shell, a carapace of black tissue around this, and it usually heals fine. I mean, I've seen it, I went into an expedition and the guys that had been taken out from base camp were back with their frostbite, and I saw this black thumb. 3 weeks later, I come back and I talk to the guy, and it's just as pink as ever. I mean, it's, very healthy looking after he lost the carapace. The black Ashar is what it's called.
But that can only happen if you're out of harsh conditions.
Yeah, it cannot be freeze. I mean, no expedition leader is going to say that oh yeah, we'll warm you up, we'll get it thawed out, and then you can go on. And they're going to try to get you out. And in the Thin Air, if you watch the movie, I mean, they're walking people out on frostbitten limbs. You don't, if you can get them out, you walk them out even though their foot's frostbitten. Okay? Yeah.
That guy's problem, Jeff, in your example, was he wasn't honest with himself to realize that it started because he was feeding me, and surely he would know. So at that time, he should have stopped and tried to
Yes.
take care of it.
Right.
Just deny the fact.
Right.
that it's supposed to.
Yes, yeah, and he wanted to go so bad that, it became a big psychological adventure after that, where, they're quoting the book, Man's Search for Meaning, where you can control yourself by your attitude and everything else to try to get this guy. I mean, he's crying. They basically are lashing him on the dog sled and just hauling him from place to place.